Let's go, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the LA Poker Roundup. As always, I am your host, Ty Dobberton, along with my co-host, Derek Kwan.
What is up, everyone?
It is April 29th, 2025, and this is episode 83. We are finding ourselves in one of those rare non-World Series of Poker kind of lulls, kind of calms around LA. So we are going to do our best to bring up some fun things and entertain. But it's kind of nice having a little minute to breathe here. So this week, what do we got for you? We do still have some results from around LA, from that we've able to find blasters traveling around the country, and then we have an interesting an interesting topic that was brought up the other day. I think we've touched on this before, but I thought, given a fun little post that we found on the Twitter sphere this week, thought we'd revisit what happened to poker sponsorship. Could that ever happen again? Could tournaments get sponsored? Could we ever come up with a tournament model? Could someone execute a tournament model that was different, right? That's not this we the players come and bring our own prize pool every week. I think it's an interesting thought. I think it's we've touched on it before, in that pretty sure this would be the way to legitimize this thing, make the growth huge, bring it more into kind of mind game, board game status, and away from gambling. But we'll talk about if it's even possible or what we think about that. And then we've got some smack talk brewing with the LA Poker Roundup Player of the Year. We are getting close to the end. We're getting to the final series that is going to count. We're getting to the final sprint. And as we said last week, Derek's right in the thick of it. In case you didn't notice, he's taking his week to shine and brag while he's ahead by 80 points. But that's not going to last long, and we're going to be in a knockdown drag-out end. So we got some smack talk. We got some standings updates. We got a little bit to talk about there. It's going to be fun. All right. So, why don't we just jump right in before Derek starts bragging about how he's on top of our roundup, the roundup standings, huh? All right. So let's see. Results. What were we able to find? So this past week, it's a little bit tough, but here I was scoping out our buddy, Mr. Mike Liang, Mr. Mikey Conrad, and he reposted the Champions Club main event here. 11 players returning for day 3 of this thing, and I believe this was streamed, so you can probably go on and watch some of this being streamed. But it appears he made it into the top 11. Now, if that's true, he also had his name butchered by the coverage. If I'm assuming this would be him, Michael Langa. So assuming that's him, congratulations. Now, I looked at the final table. He did not make it to the top 6 in the other post. I wasn't able to find the full results. But congrats on your finish somewhere between 11th and 7th. So out there killing it in Texas. Man, they got to hate him down there.
He just shows up. It's like our Christina Gollins.
Yeah, exactly.
He shows up and wins all our tournaments.
Last year, I think it was the Lodge main event, Monster or whatever, the big one.
Yeah.
And this year he got there. Looks like he final tabled or came very close. And the other result I was able to find, I think she kind of bounces around given the amount of tournaments she's been winning up in Vegas. But Kathy Chang takes another one. This woman's mantle has to be absolutely packed. No wonder she needs multiple houses to hold all these trophies. She won first place in the Lips Tour over at South Point Omaha 8 event, and she got 2 trophies and extra gifts. I mean, look at these. Look at this. And
those are some cool-ass trophies.
Seriously, she got this trophy here, Women in Poker Spring Festival Omaha 8. Okay, huge lips. She got the WPA trophy. And then it looks like she got a South Point coin, big card protector down there in the middle. And then she gets these gift bags. Like, what the heck? We're doing something wrong with our trophies, man. We need more.
Bag, man.
Do not expect that kind of treatment for the Player of the Year, no matter who wins it.
I've yet to see a gift bag yet from any tournament I played.
You know what, though? Maybe if we get a small trophy, I think we should put it in a gift bag. Now that I'm saying this, if we get a smaller trophy, it'll go in a gift bag.
We'll get some foofy tissue.
Exactly. Yeah. But if it's a big trophy, we'll have to figure something else out. All right, so you guys, keep self-reporting, keep sending us your results. We cannot be watching everywhere. We don't know where you're going to play. We love to see LA folks doing well all out there. So back here in LA, there were not a lot of events reporting results last week, but one of the big ones, one of the things happening last week, and again this week, is the daily over at Commerce, just the humble 25K guarantee daily at Commerce on Saturday. Pulled a prize pool of over $80,000 last Saturday for a $250 buy-in. And remember, you get 50,000 in chips in this thing. You jump into this thing with I think the blinds, they either start at 1-2 or 1-1, but you have almost 300 big blinds in this thing to start. That's not easy to bust and get a lot of rebuys, but we got there. We got 80,000 in the prize pool off 250 buy-in. Way to go. And congratulations to Miss Angela Defoe for taking the top in the three-way chop. Now, I've been playing with Angela quite a bit the last few months, and I think she's really new to the tournament scene. And you know what? After this win, I think we've got her hooked for life. This is how it starts.
Nice. Yeah, good job, all you. And, kudos to Cabin, man. I mean, this guy just brings it. I think hopefully he's getting the faith of the commerce, the way that he's driving up these dailies. So really good to see over there.
Yeah, I think he's crushed that guarantee by double like the last 3 weeks before this, and then this week to over triple it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see his guarantee inch up, especially if he's allowed to kind of strategically move it around. During these off weeks, it should definitely just be 50K. I mean, what the heck?
And it's kind of like not like a tournament, at least not a first order tournament director thing that, all these players just come because of a tournament director. That's not the case. You know what I mean? So he's just, he's just Cabin.
I mean, a lot of people did, though. I mean, we know, for instance, I'll get to it in the next post, but we know several Gardens regulars who are now Commerce regulars, and they would have never set foot in the Commerce for anything but a series.
That's what I mean. So outside of a Cabin, right? I feel like there are very few tournament directors that would just suddenly drive.
Oh, right.
By themselves, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Cabin just seems to be pretty special. He's got so much loyalty. He's bringing all these Garden regs with him to the Commerce.
Cabin brings his own game. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So congrats to the other two in the top three chop here. James Bocanfuso took home. So Angela took home nearly 15,000 for her piece of the chop. James took home nearly 13,000, and Paulo Santos took home just over 12,000 for his part of this three-way chop. Way to go! And it looks like we have those are the same things Frank wrote there. A bunch of the other results. Looks like our buddy Jeremy Hamey, 27th, cashed. Jackie Lee, 26th. Taxi, 25th. Oh, I'm just reading his post here. All right, so Frank already listed a lot of the blasters. Let me just read his post off for y'all. Other notable cashers: Eugene Tito, 30th. Hambone, 27th. Jackie Lee, 26th. Taxi, 25th. Beth Hall, 24th. Thomas T.J. Morio, 23rd. Dean Myers, 12th. Mark Spitaleri, right there in the picture, 23rd. Dean Myers, 12th. No, I already read that. Paul Wynn. Man, fuck. If these ones all counted, he'd be in good shape in that Player of the Year too. He's nipping at your heels there. 7th,
yeah.
Philip Wexler, 6th. I believe you beat him for your trophy, didn't you? Or is that different Philip? Is this the mixed game Phillips? I don't know. Wing Wong, 4th. Sure. So look at, man, this brought everybody out. Super fun. And like I said, congrats Angela. Played with her several times, and word on the street is apparently she had just a single coaching session with Fausto just before this event, and then just goes on to ship the thing. So, I don't know what he said to her, but it worked.
I think much to the chagrin of the regular daily players, it seems like a whole bunch of very good players are now showing up to these things.
I know, right?
So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It's all right. This is a super fun event. So then
rising tide boats, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. The other event that we have results from is the Sunday event from over there at the Gardens. Now, the Sunday event was only a 10K guarantee, and it only was able to slightly more than double the prize pool, which is great for a daily, but after the day before, I guess you would be a little disappointed. It managed to end up with 21,000 in the prize pool. Final 13 players made the money, and it ended in a 6-way chop, I'm guessing, with these 6 gentlemen right here. So congratulations, Samir Morkos taking number 1 in that chop for about 6,500. And then, oh wow, that's an interesting chop that happened. If that's the case, a 6-way chop. So he must have had every single chip on the table, because second place, Ramon Pedroza Santiago got 2,700 or 2,790, which is less than half of what Samir got. And then third, Cheng Su Lai got 2,500. Jose Chavez Tovar got 4th for 22 or roughly 23. 5th, Polly Wu got 5th for just about 1,700. 6th, Peter Diedrich for about 1,500. And then outside of the chop, Razmik Peria, Ara Ashikian, and Richard Spandikow. Congrats to all them. And also, Mr. Hambone cashed this guy too. So 2 days in a row, nice little cash over there at Commerce. So that's really interesting. I would have been very interested to see what that chip distribution was like, because that's a huge jump, man. I feel like they did not do ICM.
Yeah.
So, But congrats to all. Way to go over there. And I anticipate this weekend that Saturday is going to be massive again. I'm going to be there this time. I wasn't there last time. I was actually in Vegas doing a little vacationing. We went and saw a couple shows. Me and the wife took our little. I'm not sure if we'll call this is the baby moon if we don't do another trip. Together. So we went and we saw the Awakening show over at the Wynn, and we went and we saw the Shinlim Magic show over at the Venetian. So those were pretty good. Highly recommend if you're into those sort of things. If you like close-up magic, Shinlim was fantastic. Absolutely, highly recommend. Go check it out. He was awesome. And Awakening was good if you didn't expect a Cirque. So it was very, I guess it was unique. So I could see why people may be disappointed. But it was definitely an experience. It was fun. It was a huge stage show, huge production, amazingly cool stage, really well coordinated, but was not a Cirque show. They did some stunts, they did some acrobatics, they did a little bit of magic. They did some magic tricks, sort of, some disappearing acts and some quick change things. They did some singing. I mean, it had a little bit more. It had a lot more in common with like a Broadway musical type of production than the other shows, and it had a pretty thin storyline, but there were lines, so it was like it had a little of everything. It was kind of weird in that way, but it was fun. Definitely fun. Definitely recommend it unless you're just dead set on seeing a Cirque. In that case, go see a Cirque. This wasn't a Cirque.
Yeah, it's nice to go get some culture when we have some downtime.
Yeah.
In the poker sphere. So it sounds like you had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Super fun. Hung out, checked out some of the stuff. I got to show my wife where I'll be a lot of this summer. Walked around we stayed at the Paris. We walked around, showed her where the convention halls were. Gave her the tour. Said, "This is where we walk through all the smokers. Yep, they're still smoking. Cough, cough. This is where we walk this is the hallway we're all afraid we're gonna get trampled in. This is the." This is where the final tables are. This is where the cameras are. Blah blah blah. Unfortunately, the conference rooms were mostly closed, so I couldn't really show her the insides. But it's cool. Should get a little sense of that kind of thing. Yeah. So I am. I don't know. I got to play a little bit of poker, but not the usual amount. Had a little bit of FOMO, especially seeing the numbers on that daily just rising and crushing it. Right. You did not go to that, and you were here. So what did you do all weekend?
I fired a little bit on ACR. Maybe I just forgot overtime. ACR, it is wonderful, coolers. In the Venom that I fired, I 4-bet jammed ace queen of diamonds for like 40 bigs and got snapped by kings and flop ace queen and then turn king. So it's just it's just how it kind of goes.
Yeah, it's like it wouldn't be so bad if it just happened the way it was supposed to, but they give you that hope and then they just rip it out, right?
But the nice thing is that I did go deep in one of the majors on Sunday. It was like 150K guarantee or something, or maybe it was 200K. I don't remember which one. And I think I finished around like maybe 16th or 18th.
Okay.
Kind of ran pretty bad down the stretch, and unfortunately it was like 40K or something for first place. But yeah, at least I got to not get too cold, too rusty on this very long break from poker.
I gotcha. Yeah, I played a tiny amount up on WorldSeries.com up there, in the hotel room. Not a ton, just a little bit on my phone. Big news for those online players is that Pennsylvania joined the liquidity pool this week, is what I heard.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're still left out of the cold on that. But for those who are in a regulated state, I believe that's what Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, maybe one more. So, steps are happening. Pennsylvania's a pretty big state. Very exciting for all them. So, congrats to all you guys. We still can't play. But one day, maybe one day. I mean, I'm not that sad, but I know you're sad.
I am very sad. I mean, just specifically because WSOP, I really actually do enjoy playing on it. It just doesn't feel like it has all the madness of, like an ACR places. I still, I still haven't really played that much on WPT Global. So I should give that a shot. Or Gold, sorry.
Yeah. And you kind of have to just have that as one table while you're playing something else if you're used to multi-tabling. That's right, Brad. Thank you. New Jersey and Delaware.
It would drive me insane, so I probably have to have something else going on.
Yeah, since you can only do the one. Yeah, and that would save you guys from other things because, a lot of the locals here, instead of going out and seeing some shows or hanging out playing online at home, have been instead grinding the hours challenge at Commerce. Right? Could have been in there getting back in those cash streets, Derek. You never felt tempted? Don't you want to be a Commerce
No,
pro?
I feel like I would get my butt kicked in cash these days because I'm just so far away from it. Um, and you know what's weird? I almost just feel like I can't like switch my brain as easily as other people do. Like I just jump from cash, jump to tournaments. I feel like it takes a little bit of time where I'm still playing a little bit of spewy cash style, or then when I go play a cash game from a tournament, I'm playing a little bit more of like a tighter. I don't know. It's weird.
Really, I feel like it's actually the opposite. I feel like I play much looser in cash, but then again, I always play the lower stakes games and I splash around a lot. So
Yeah.
maybe that's yeah, I'm not really playing like a high. I'm not playing to make a good hourly, you know. um,
Yeah, it's possible that I've gotten better about that sort of context switching, but I just remember I wasn't that great at it before, so I just, I'm not too
Gotcha.
incentivized to play cash these days.
Yep. So if you haven't jumped on this already, you're probably behind. But if you're halfway through, or you're watching, or if you're just curious what we're talking about, um, Commerce is doing this free roll hours challenge again. They are doing a free roll tournament. It looks like they're going to maybe do this every month. I don't know. But this one comes with their Commerce Pro promo. So when you play the free roll tournament and you get your hours, which 50 is the minimum, you will get more and more chips in this tournament up to as long as you go over 101 hours. And the top 5 players, in addition to winning money from this free roll, will win a $24,000 worth of tournament buy-ins, including $10,000 for the main event. So for those of you who are not as lucky as Derek to play a $70 flip and go to get into the main event, this was a good way. So, especially if you're able to grind. If you're able to grind some profitable sessions over there. So a lot of people are over there. And the thing that struck me about it is every person I've talked to, or every tournament player I've talked to, and in fact, I know a cash player who was grinding this out last year. Every single one has described the experience with the same 1 or 2 words: miserable. Every
Really?
single one has said playing cash at Commerce has been miserable. Even the ones who've been winning pretty consistently in the game they're playing, they're still saying it's just so miserable. We had, I think it was Frank, right, telling us that the floor told him to come and stop playing poker on his phone while he was there, so he couldn't even play. He couldn't even play his poker on his phone while he was playing
What?
live. And
That's wild.
yeah, and I mean, for me, the reason I play the lower games and splash around a bit is just because all these cash games with small blind, big blind, and rake, you just have to play so tight because that's just the only way to beat the rake, right? And I really want to see some games like what the Gardens does to mix it up a little more. Let's do some anti games, do some extra blind games, do something with a little extra twist, right? And Commerce is just like they seem really behind the times with that. All these other, like Hustler and Lucky Lady, they have deeper buy-in games. They'll do Lucky Lady does a $500 buy-in 2-3. Hustler, at least at their like 2-3, you can buy in for 500, I think, and their 5-5 is like 1,000 or
That's awesome.
2,000 even. And they do double board bomb pots on every dealer change at both of those places, right? So they have other things mixing up the game, getting a little extra action and gambling. I just really would love to see more cash games, add more money in the
Yeah.
pot, basically, add more action, right? Um, they don't have a license to allow you to play online. Why did they need a license to let you play online? You aren't even allowed to play online. Well, technically, no one's allowed to play online for money in California anyway. So what kind of license could they possibly get, man?
That
Like,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
If
Frank.
they really said that too, I feel like they just made that up.
I would think so. I mean, Frank's saying that they told them the reason was they don't have a license to allow them to play online at Commerce. Yeah,
I feel like they just made that up.
yeah,
This
yeah,
I feel like they're just making stuff up on
exactly.
the
There
spot.
is no license that will allow anyone to play online because there's no license that will allow
Mm.
any operator to operate online in California. So what is what are they talking about? That's
So I mean, is it okay if I play, I don't know, um, Candy Crush?
I know, right? It's
No.
like we don't have the candy license, so you need to play that.
Oh
Sorry.
my God.
Oh boy. But yeah, and that's another thing, right? Just that sort of thing. The number of I've played a couple sessions after busting out of the cash games lately over there, and just the number of table hopping misrags around is just it's brutal. Now, hopefully this month it's not as bad because of all of us folks coming into play, but it's tough. Um, I did play a little cash session up at the Venetian. While I was there, I got in a couple hours before the Shin Lim show, and I've only played cash there one other time, and I recognized one of the players there, and it's my buddy Deals there, and we joke about him. This one guy, we call him the Vulture, because he's like this mega shit reg that just walks around the room. He picks he I don't think he plays more than 2 orbits at any table. Just walking around looking for the room where it looks like some tourist has a big stack or some action players betting, looking for a seat to their left, table changing every 2 orbits, every 1 orbit. And then we noticed this time we're not positive, but it seems like he's adding chips to his stack as he goes from table to table. So just the shittiest shit reg in the world, you know. I had a good one on him this time. The last time I played with him, I actually had a big stack, and I just straight up told him, if you change seats, I'm leaving the table. So F you. And then this time, I don't know if you recognize me or not, but he tries to come and table change to my table, straight to my left, and he drops off his little, he gets the seat lockup button right there, and he goes back to his other table for chips. And I'm like, hey, dealer, I have priority, right? So I moved to my left. So he has to sit on my right now. He didn't even play a whole orbit. He left again. So like these are the kind of things I play cash for. I don't even know how the session went. I just was so happy when that happened because my buddies are playing at the next table over. When he comes over and he walks, we're like, that was the Vulture. That's the guy. And then I do that. I'm like, watch, he's not gonna last a level. He's not gonna last he's not gonna last an hour. And he wasn't even there for an orbit. I don't even think he played up blind. Like they probably let him get away with table change. Probably didn't pay a blind. Probably left on the big blind because he's such a Vulture. Like these people need to stop playing. They need to this is what tournaments are for. Trap them on the table, make them play.
That's absolutely the thing that I hated about cash games is this predatory like behavior. And I remember I was playing the Commerce 510 and it was just loaded with regs and pros all the time.
Exactly.
Once in a blue moon, we would just have like one like crazy player sitting at a table and it would be like a must move list, like a mile long, trying to get in there.
Right.
And it's just
yeah, it's just not a good look, guys. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
Just freaking, you didn't get lucky that day to be at the table. Stay where you are. Play the game. And like I was willing to torch my whole stack just bothering him. I'm like, this guy's incredibly super tight. Anytime he tries to limp or make a small bet, I'm gonna 3-bet him. I'm just gonna make his life miserable. If he shows that he's got a premium, I'm out of the hand immediately. But like I said, he only played 1 orbit. 3-bet him once. Like 4 people called anyways, so he had to check fold and he left. But yeah, like I said, I play the small games just to be vigilanteing people. Like that's all I care about. It's fun. It's fun. That's the only way I stay sane playing those things, which is why I can't do this hours challenge though, because I would torch so much money, like trying to troll these misregs. It would.
Yeah, I think if you're doing the hours challenge, you'd actually almost even want the dealers to deal slower or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, guys, for you playing the Commerce, from the couple times I've played there, and I'm pretty sure it's the same. And it was the same with the Venetian. Like dealers don't really care. If all you want is the hours and you don't want to like have to risk the money, just sit down, play an orbit or two, leave the table. You've got like 2.5, 3 orbits before you have any danger getting picked up. Go back, play an orbit or two, leave the table. They don't clock you out. They're supposed to clock you out as soon as you miss a blind, I'm sure, but they don't clock you out. Who cares? They don't care. It doesn't hurt them. Just play, miss an orbit, play. Like I was joking with Frank and Jeremy, like they should definitely be at a cash table active while playing the tournament because they're not going to get clocked out. Just go over, pay your blinds, buy the button, play 2 hands and leave again. Like go play during the break. You'll get the hours. You'll get an extra 5 hours while you're playing the tournament. I mean, they don't clock you out, and it's like, and that's another thing. If I see a misreg, as soon as they get up, I tell the dealer, hey, he's supposed to be in lobby, right? Guys in lobby the guy. You're supposed to lobby that guy, right? But I mean, it's not a big it's just you're just racking up hours, right? So that's kind of the tip there. They don't need to deal slower. You can just leave. Just go for happy hour. Hey, it's happy hour. I'm gonna get up and come back in 30 minutes, 25 minutes. But it is a good promo though. If you were gonna play cash anyways, you might as well play it there. Get the hours, get that package, get that pro package. It's worth a lot. You're gonna get a bunch of buy-ins for the 2 circuits coming up, and for the main event. And I don't see any sign, although it was a surprise last time, I don't see any sign of Jamie Gold coaching it this time, since it looks like there's only going to be 5 pros. So whether that's good or bad, I mean, I know you're missing out on like tens of thousands of dollars worth of value there, according to, last time, according to the interviews. But just saying, you won't have to deal with that.
I think he's good for amateurs. I'm pretty sure some of the pros who weren't very experienced must have been thrilled to just get some exposure to Jamie Gold. And I just think his general presence, even if regular poker players might give it a little bit of an eye roll, I just think he's just good for publicity. So I actually hope he's involved in some way.
Yeah, I disagree. I think they should use the money for promos and other things. Like I think if they could give away 2 or 3 more pro packages that would be better and spend the money promoting those guys.
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
honestly, like we said, I think they should have pushed it forwards and like made Rudy the captain this year from last year's pro team or something, and then just tried to like build that up or something, you know. And that kind of is
Yeah.
going to roll into the this other topic, right? So we are going to talk about like what could the future of tournaments look like if there is a different future, right? And you sent a post along about a tournament series in Japan that actually
Yep.
seems to have a an actual sponsorship, right?
Yep.
It was kind of a funny picture. It was kind of a like, you know, it's kind of a humorous little shot. Let me bring it up. So here we have, um, I believe this is the women's bracelet winner last year, and she's here at the Japan Open with her Burger King. I think that was supposed to be a card protector, but it looks like a keychain. So Burger King actually sponsored the Japan Poker Open or Japan Open Poker. Um, really cool. So check it out here. There's the Burger King keychain there. Burger King's name is apparently all over the chips. Close-ups
It's
on
so
some of the other
wild.
swag they have here. So I don't know how much money they provided, but they
Yeah,
did sponsor this thing. You even
it's
get a
just so
Burger King,
wild.
yeah, cards.
Yeah, just so wild because I feel like Japan, number one, I'm pretty sure you still can't gamble there. So I'm not sure how this. I'll try to read into it this week.
Yeah,
And for Burger King to come and sponsor this also seems very random from kind of out of nowhere. So yeah, whatever they did,
it's
let's
cool.
try to do more, man.
Yeah, like you know, we have monster stacks. They had a Whopper stack.
Yeah.
And you know, I found the page for Japan Open Poker. This is the Google translated English version. They are, you know, they gave away a bunch of, you know, burger tickets to the people. They gave away all this swag, and I'm not sure what the exact breakdown is of how the sponsorship worked. Did they just provide like, you know, decorations, venues, the chips, right, that kind of stuff, or did they actually kick money into the prize pool? But like, here's their sponsored prize, first place. You win Whoppers for a year, and you get a bunch. So I think this is how you get. I think this is how you get around the gambling in Japan, right? So the first prize, you get the Whoppers for the year, but you get tickets, right? You get tickets, which means something in their Japan Open Poker system, right? I think that is a lot of it. Now that being said, there this tournament here, the Whopper Stack, did have a fee of 20,000 yen, which if I think roughly is, you know, somewhere around 200, 250 bucks or something like that. And it did have a total prize pool. This is in dollars for some reason. So they did still have a prize pool with dollars. So to your point, I'm not sure how they got around that. I know in Korea they get around it by holding these at like casinos that Koreans actually can't play in, but clearly Japanese people were playing in this event. So I'm not sure. I
Yeah,
thought
I'm fascinated by this. I definitely need to read into it more.
Yeah, I thought that Japan was like the way that Korea has poker tournaments, kind of in legit spaces, and that they're sort of they're sort of social clubs. Like I think we talked about this before. They're a little bit more like a game. The way the prize system kind of works, it's more like a Magic the Gathering setup where you enter the tournament, but you're not putting a prize pool up necessarily. And what you win isn't money. It's in their case, it's these tickets, I believe. And typically,
Mm.
what I saw is these tickets you use to enter other tournaments throughout the year that culminate in a big tournament series, maybe like this one, where you do actually get to finally win prizes. So you kind of are like playing qualifiers and like earning up these tickets and points to play other tournaments and events, and that lets you get into to like the big once a year event where there might have real prize money kind of thing, you know. I think that's how it worked in Korea. Now that being said, there's of course, you know, you can typically there's a market where you can sell your tickets to other people who want to play the tournaments and this and that, so they kind of equate to money in a way but not officially. um,
I
but
want some of those Burger King playing cards. This looks
yeah,
pretty cool.
absolutely. If anyone went to this, man, because I know like Alti was out at the Asian Pacific or the Asian Poker Tour,
Uh,
and I think we had a couple other folks from LA in the general vicinity. Maybe you know, I know Suit Superman goes out there a lot. Um, if anyone's out there, man, hook us up. These are cool. Burger King Japanese playing cards. That seems awesome. And the Burger King chips and card protectors. It's really cool. So
yeah, my passport is super duper expired, so I should probably go somewhere to get it done. Oh, actually, so this reminds me, by the way, if everyone doesn't know, I believe that Real ID is coming through. It's not going to get delayed anymore, and you can't fly domestically without one or a passport. So just make sure that you get all that squared away before the World Series of Poker. I was struggling today, like looking for birth certificate and all this crazy
Oof.
like validation you need to do. So yeah, make sure you get on that real ID train.
I did mine a while ago, but good to know. Good to know. Yeah, make sure
Yeah.
you're not sleeping on that. And I need to renew my passport this year myself, but I can do it online. I'm guessing you have to do a bunch more since you let it go so long.
Yeah, if you as long as it hasn't been expired for more than 5 years, you can do it online.
Oh, okay, you're not that far out. All right. So the bigger question is, why or what could we possibly do? Or rather, the question I don't want to ask what could we do. I think the easiest, step one is poker needs to be legalized federally before we can really expect um, the big sponsors to come back. The Molson, what was it before? I think High Life used to sponsor it, and then we had all the
I mean,
snacks and all
Jack's
the
Link, like Jack
Jack's
Link's
Links,
beef
yeah, the beef
jerky.
jerky, yep, all that stuff. But the other so also shout out to Only Friends Pod. They ended. They did their last episode a couple days ago or end of last week. But one of their final episodes, they were kind of talking about some possible or some different structures for what tournaments could be like, right? If you were to take away the element where people pay their own prize money, right? And one of them heavily relies on sponsors, right? So the first thing is the most natural thing to think of is like, well, what about a PGA Tour system, right? Where we have big sponsors, you have the FedEx Cup, you have all of the sponsors um, contributing all year, and basically you have feeder tournaments where you have entry fees, but those aren't really the prizes you get on the tour, right? Um, or the prizes are kind of nominal compared to that, and then you have the big sponsored ones, right? So, hey, Brad, we have that tweet all queued up. We may bring that up later. The tweet from Dustin Ionetta. So we might be talking about that one in a little bit. So they talked a little bit about that, the PGA Tour, and I think that would be the ideal system, right? But I feel like we're at a huge disadvantage as far as that goes compared to golf for a lot of reasons. Now, one, it's you kind of say it's already been tried before in a way. Like there was this thing back in 2011, tried to get started up, the Epic Poker League. And they tried to do it from 2011 to 2012. They tried to create a kind of invite only league that would be to showcase best players, right? I'm guessing what they were trying to do was make their money through TV deals and try and this is a sport that will they can get sponsorships through their TV deals and that kind of thing, and it didn't really last. They tried it 2011, it says here according to Wikipedia, and it only lasted until 2012, and they went bankrupt, which is too bad. They had some big names associated. Jeffrey Pollack, Andy Duke was in there. Matt Savage was tournament director, and it was held at Palms Casino in Nevada, in Las Vegas for a while. So season one was televised on CBS on the Velocity Network. So they tried, and they even tried kind of that same idea with the feeder tournaments, pro-am tournaments and whatnot, right? So that did not work. Now, 2010, 2011 wasn't the epic heyday, right? The heyday was when all of the online stuff was really exploding. That's when the most money was around, all the shows were exploding. But I feel like this would be awesome. But I think one of our big problems is just that the only companies that can make money from poker are, actual like operators, right? So the casinos themselves, the poker rooms. It almost worked. It almost like people thought this was a good idea at the heyday of online poker because Poker Stars, Party Pokers, Ultimate Bet or whatever. They were so huge, international operators. They were able to have such big margins because they were just crappy. They were cheating everyone. Some of those sites, and we don't really have that. But in golf, I feel like there's just so much more money to be made from the amateur player. So for poker, you have to get people to literally go to your room. You have to run your room, which is a high cost thing to do, right? You need licenses, you need dealers, you need space, you need rent. But in golf, you're selling clubs, you're selling gloves, you're selling equipment, you're selling clothes, you're selling just
Yeah.
just lifestyle wear,
Yeah.
shirts, and people have been trying that with Run Good gear and stuff. But like, I just feel like we're at a huge
Yeah.
disadvantage for those kinds of
So
businesses.
actually, that Dustin tweet is my main point that I've been making for over a year, and I do think that that's actually the silver bullet. We need spectators. Like
Yeah,
that's all it is we
that
need
that's
spectators.
that
The
is
advertisers,
that is another half,
advertisers will
sure.
come. Advertisers will come if spectators come, and that's it. They're the ones who will buy golf clubs. They were the ones who will buy Run Good gear, right? There's only finite set of poker players, and this is a very price sensitive, set of people who don't really tend to buy things. Like just walk past all those kiosks at WSOP all the time, not buying anything.
Right.
So you need spectators to come, and that's when they'll come. Because back then, that was why WSOP was on ESPN. That's why they had Jackson Beef Jerky, and it wasn't the sites were like cheating people making money. They were just making a shit ton of rate because they were running internationally, like every state in the United States, all these countries, all across the world, all mixed into the same player pools, running like $1 million for first place tournament every single freaking Sunday at Full Tilt and Poker Stars, right? That's how big it was back then. They were making so much money, and this is why all those sponsors came, because it was just humongous.
Now the trick though is, was it ESPN that benefited from it, or was it ESPN that created that whole audience, right? Because I think that part of Dustin's post, and I think I'm kind of leaning on the side of that content for that World Series that we all loved and that we all watched, and that created such a big kind of awareness of it in America. I have no idea how they did that. They had so much coverage and so many stories from the people who were playing so deep into that event. Did they just suddenly on day 6 say, all right, we're going to get tons of foot. You need to pretend like it's day 2. We're going to interview you. You need to pretend like it's day 3. Or did they like somehow grab like 100 people that they thought might make it and interview them each day? Like how did they even do that? The cost of that and the cost of stuff that hit the cutting room floor, and then the stories they were able to create as a result. This was so unique to our space. And those stories, I really do agree. That's what we should be doing. That's the stories we should be telling. But then I think we're always going to get back to this problem that poker is just boring to watch. So if we bring those people in, they're never going to watch the live stream event. They're never going to watch, we
Yeah, so
can't make
that's
that
why it worked so
table.
well in the heyday, because they
Yeah,
were all like curated episodes, and
right,
it
right.
wasn't like an 8 hour stream, which is kind of where we went. And this is a lot of stuff I've been talking about. Same thing, right? Um, we need to do these like instant replays after a basketball game. That's like a 5 minute segment that's from beginning to end of the game. That's all the highlights. And actually, I just saw on NBA.com, they have this new thing that looks like Instagram stories. And basically, you're just flipping through story after story after story, which is play after play after play. And it's actually happening as the game is happening. It's like watching the game on a 5 minute delay, but you're not watching the entire game. You're just watching clips. I think there are so many things that are kind of blazing the way for us to do this, right? And it's going to have to be some mix of like that same fun production value of those ESPN episodes back in the day with some near real time stuff. And I think Poker Go is going to have to maybe find another way to make their money and do their subscriptions. But I feel like there are a lot of people kind of aiming at this. And actually, also when you look at like esports, that's another one. Like esports is probably even a better model than real sports for the way to go about
Yeah.
this.
No, interestingly, esports was the other model. Just to real quick on the content though, still I feel like the comparison is maybe more apt than for chess or something though, because like my point is that NBA basketball for the fans and the people, for those folks, it's, even if you don't play, if you've ever played, it's still really fun to watch the games. So when the
Mhm.
playoffs comes, the finals comes, final fours comes, you can, that's still a product that people can sit and watch, and people care about the outcome to the point where they will watch till the final minute, because that's very important.
Yep.
I still think that the people you bring in, the mass people who come in
Mhm.
and watch, if we're successful in pulling them in the way ESPN did, almost none of them are going to want to watch live poker still. They're still not going to want to watch the live
Yeah.
streams. They're not going to watch
It,
the final table. They'll only want to watch the curated things. So I almost feel like it's more like chess is more like something that would be more of
yeah,
a
chess
parallel, right? Because,
has blown up too, and look
yeah,
how boring chess is. Like
exactly.
chess is actually more boring, right? But we have I mean, specifically for tournaments, let's just talk about tournaments, right? Because we also still have like $1 million cash game. That was like crazy, all the pots that were running around. But you have people playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars all the time, millions of dollars during the summer. Like, what is more compelling than that? There's 3 people left in this $1 million tournament. Watch the 10 most important hands from that, right? Like, who wouldn't want to watch that?
No, no, I agree. I think that the curated form would get views and be popular. But like I'm comparing it in that I could be wrong, but I feel like there's like 20 million people on chess.com playing. What I'm saying is that you're not going to see chess necessarily on TV replacing the World Series of baseball or the the NBA Finals, but they have to do it this other way. They have to clip things out. They have to find a way to make those other things exciting. I feel like we're more likely to fall in that camp than,
Yeah.
if we were to get super popular, now we can televise the final table and it's going to be 6 hours of compelling TV for people. Like, I just don't see that
Yeah.
for
I'm gonna
numbers.
say like pool, chess, like spelling bees that have been there forever, but they have always just been this thing where you watch it at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something, right? Poker back then with ESPN was like prime time viewing. So I'm just gonna say that poker is it. There's the capability is there. It's we are somewhere between mainstream sports and those sports, right? We should be way more popular than chess,
Yeah.
and chess is kicking our asses right now.
Sure. I think to go back to that article and what we're saying is it's got to be about the stories. I have to
Yeah.
care whether that person wins this tournament or not.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have to be rooting against Helmuth, or I have to be rooting to see him blow up, or I have to be rooting for whoever. I have to care about Tom Dwan's crazy being captured tweets right now, so that when he gets on a live stream, I
Yeah.
want to watch it to see if he does okay, and then when he
Right.
wins, I want to care about whether that money's going to him or if it's going to the triad, like that's these are
Right. Yeah.
important things because the hands are just over and over again. It's like we've
And it's funny too
seen.
because there are so many of these like probably little shady type of stories, but those are the stories that people love buying books for, right? Like the Professor, the Bank, and the whatever that
Yeah,
was,
and
right?
Suicide King.
It's Suicide King, right? Yeah, like books like that, people love that shit. So yeah, it's like we have everything right there in front of us, right? We have the degeneracy, we have the storylines, we have like crazy players, we got lots of money, and it's a competitive sport. There's such a huge luck element to it, and screaming when bad stuff happens. Like it's all there, and we're not capitalizing on it. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as much as I hate Maurice, if he were
Yeah,
to get the proper heel coverage,
right.
people would want to watch tables to watch him lose,
Yeah,
to
let's
see
go
if
like
he's going
all
to
full
lose,
on. Let's go full on WWE with all this.
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely. Yeah, and that is, remember that when we get to our player of the year, we're about to talk about as well. Just so you know, remember that. Um, so
And,
yeah,
and you know what? It was funny when that tweet first came out. I had thought about doing this, and I got so busy with like all these other things going on, I forgot. But I'm gonna go back to it. I think I'm gonna start giving nicknames to a bunch of our LA Blasters, and then you guys are just gonna carry those nicknames around, and we're gonna try to build our own little set of characters down
yeah. I
here.
mean,
And hopefully this will.
we have we've got it started. We've got some of the basics down. We got our Hambone, we
Yeah.
got our Uncle Paul, we got our
Yeah.
Tyson. So we got a couple going.
Yeah, like Sammy the Bull Beshahad. Let's go. I have so many ideas.
Yeah. All right. No, that's not bad. I mean, we need more poker nicknames for sure.
Yeah.
So that's one way, right? The PGA model would be great. Big sponsorships, a kind of championship league that could be funded through TV rights and big sponsors. That would be awesome. But we need the eyeballs. We need to have that. Poker needs to be so popular that that money's going to flow in. So the other thing that you mentioned is the esports, right? So that was the other model. And this is one that I've thought about before too. And it's something I'd kind of thought about a little bit to a smaller scale, just with doing the roundup, just with LA, because we've mentioned LA is one of the few places that's kind of like Vegas, and that there actually are a number of competing card rooms, right? And it seems like a lot of them have kind of given up on competing on tournaments, but they kind of were for a while. And they did do an event like, what was it, the SoCal Championship or the Battle of Los Angeles or something, where a lot of the different card rooms ran their own day ones and they combined them all, right? So the idea of the esports thing is, what if there were teams of poker players, right? If there are teams and these teams got entered, or let's start with the smallest case. What if a player just was sponsored, right? And the most natural people to sponsor them would be, say, casinos. And they entered them into these other tournaments, and the casinos/sponsors are the ones who paid. And this came up on the Only Friends pod, because they were talking about their episode with Petrangelo, talking about Tritons, and how there's definitely a small number of backers that have relatively large percentage-wise stables going into the Triton. So it's kind of like that for Triton. There's like several people putting in a large part of the prize pool already. So what if it was just that was a system, right? Let's say each casino had their own pro team, like Commerce does, except like an actual pro team, and they went to events kind of like esports tournaments where they sent their teams to compete against the other teams, and the casinos would win the prize for their players, and then whether the players got bonuses, salaries, whatever, they would be professional poker players making their salary from the casino team, just like an esport team, playing for the glory around in these events, right? So that would require you to cultivate, recruit, and keep the best players, right? Find ways
Yeah.
to keep them, get them, make them happy, make them stars, make them whatever it takes. And then that would also require more. Another thing is like I'm trying to think of what else could be in it for these sponsors, right? Well, if the sponsors are the casinos, it's easy. They can hold the events, and then they can hold perhaps a series around the events. Because if you got people interested in the championship multi-person event thing, like this is the big one. Well, all these people coming are poker players, so let's hold some tournaments for them, and suddenly you've got yourself a pre, all of the marketing's been done for you. Everyone's excited. You're selling merchandise. Everyone's at your location, and you rotate things around, right? So that feels like it's a lot more realistic than suddenly we have the hearts and souls of America and the world again, and everyone loves poker, and we can get, we'll get Jack Link's Beef Jerky to sponsor us again. Getting groups in the gambling space to get groups, put teams together, for instance, might be a little more attractable. Now, one thing that came up though was, hey, what are you gonna do? Put your whole team in the tournament? What do you do when 4 of your guys are on the table with 2 guys from the other team? I mean, there's gonna be collusion, right?
Yeah, as long as the teams are just constructed like actually we have teams now. They're like sponsors and ambassadors. You're a Poker Stars Pro, you're like a GG Pro, right? We kind of have teams.
And
like
you have stables. You have stables. There, even in LA, there are stables.
Well, stables are different. Like stables could be collusion because of the financial aspects to it, but I think
Well, there would be in this case too, though, right? In most of the different, in almost every case, in like think the esports, right? You need your team to win so that your sponsor stays in the profit, so they can keep paying you, right?
Yeah, so I guess in that model, if it's like, yeah, I don't think we can do that for poker.
Okay.
Do that for poker because poker's an individual. It's like
right.
a zero-sum game. Right?
So that is one of the arguments, right? However, this was brought up by them, and I really agree. I brought this up, I think, before when we were talking about Game and Gold. Who says it has to be that way? If this tournament is not a tournament any individual can enter, only teams can enter, everybody's wearing like a team uniform, you know who's on your team. Say there's a point system throughout the league or the season as well, or even not. Like, if I know you 5 are on a team and you're going to be playing in a way that helps each other, I have 4 people also here. Why is that not fair? Right?
Yeah, there are actually card games like that. I think it's like a Chinese card game like that, where you're basically like sacrificing cards to help like your literal teammate. And you're like putting down the cards that you think that they have, right? So stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, so like, I mean, it would take a little tweaking to the table talking rules or the signaling rules or whatever. Maybe there'd be some tweaks to the rules, but like, what is there? Why not think about if the game can exist as a quote unquote team game? Like, if we know, like the strategy just suddenly changes big time. Like, how much do I want my team to just have a big stack? How much do we want to take a risk to eliminate one of their guys? Versus doubling someone up, et cetera,
it would
right?
Be a completely different
number
variant.
But I'm here for it, because like adding more variance to poker, that could even let that helps fight off the solvedness of the game. It helps create situations. Now you can have a team play where one guy does something like one guy punts it, trying to punt his stack to the other guy, and he actually sucks out on the other team and knocks 2 people out or something. Like I think it's worth exploring. Like I don't personally don't think it's a game. I don't think it's personally what's the word? Like you're saying, a no-go. Like I don't think it shuts us out.
Yeah, but we got to think out of the box about this kind of stuff because I feel like we've been trying to solve it for years and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's a kind of out of the box thing. And the only real hard part about that would be is that you would have to market it really well, and you really need to be reaching for new audience because all the old time players, all the old time misregs, and all the people who think poker should be a certain way, they'll hate it, right? So you need to capture the new audience like pretty quickly. But I think it would be fun. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and so Brad, my point is, this doesn't work. Like collusion is awful if there's a small group of people colluding and no one else knows they're colluding and they can work against all the individual players. But if everybody is colluding with an equal number of people, and there is nobody in the tournament that doesn't have that equal start, right? Like, it's technically fair, right? And another thing they were talking about is like, even in like racing, I guess in like F1 racing, you race with teammates, or like, say like bicycle, like, when you bike, you're biking with a team and you're all drafting off each other so that one guy can win, right?
Yeah.
So even in all these situations, everyone knows that person on your team is supposed to be the one who wins, and everyone's working to get them to win because they're the only one
Well,
who
I
has a
mean,
chance,
I
right?
think F1 racing they really compete against each other very, very hard, just like
Well,
a Poker Stars Pro
yeah,
might
I'm sure
with each other.
you still would compete until certain situations, right? And that would be part of solving this new
Mm,
game, right?
I don't think not for racing. But anyways, I think this is going in a good direction just because these types of games that you're describing are probably a little bit more consumable by general audience. And what we really want to do though is take our very best poker players, our stars, right, the Helmuts and the Grounders, right, the
Sure.
Ivies, and then put them into these fun games, right? Because you're basically trying to even bring their exposure out to the masses,
Right.
and everyone's like, "Oh, these are some of the best poker players in the world playing this cool, fun game." And then maybe they'll follow some of those guys around when they go back to play No Limit Hold'em or PLO or whatever, right? So, yeah, I think this is it's a good direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just once again, it's just all about money, though, right? So, obviously, assuming that the different teams, if they come to agreement to create teams, assuming they're like roughly equally strength or whatnot, there would need to be extra money coming in to motivate them to do this, right? So that's why I say it's most natural for these venues to, I don't know. So
Right.
I don't know. I think that could, it could be a possibility, so to speak. I found the idea really intriguing, and I really would love it to see something happen to shake up tournaments, to shake up, to get around. If you just make tournament poker not gambling, it's almost like if we could have started with it being completely separate, the way that Asia's having to do right now. That means you could have immediately done it nationwide, and you wouldn't
Right.
have that cachet and that that kind of cowboy romance of gambling that a lot of people do like about it. But you'd be able to be doing it in every state because it wouldn't be gambling.
Yeah. And Brad, I have heard of the WPT League, but I didn't know what it was, so it's interesting. I'll take a look at that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to open up a tab and make sure that I don't forget
Yep. So
WPT League.
clearly lots of people think about this. I think the really hard part is just the amount of money it would take to get it done just on your own is, no one group can really do it. It would really take a huge collaboration, I feel like, to do a lot of this stuff. So unless who started Live? Saudi? Was that Saudi money or whatever? So unless they get, maybe after this they're opening a casino down in uh what's that? It's like not Abu Dhabi. What is it? What's the that's the city with all the futuristic stuff down in shoot, I'm blanking on it. They have a big artificial man-made island on it, and it's the city of the future. One of them. It's shoot, I can't remember the name, but it's a Middle Eastern city where they're opening a new casino soon. I think JRB was talking about it. It's Dubai. Yes, Dubai. They're opening a casino in Dubai soon. So maybe after that opens, maybe it'll start spreading around. Maybe they'll get hooked on it. It'll get popular like golf, and they'll start a Live for poker.
Yeah.
That would be sweet. Yeah, in the United Arab Emirates. That's right. Thank you, Brad. So yeah, here's hoping. Because like outside of like them, I don't think anybody would be starting this thing up on their own.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just interesting. And for the smaller, what I was really hoping would be cool, or what I thought would be cool, is if they got that cooperation between all the casinos around here again, and like they do their daily tournaments, right? They do their own series. We're doing the Player of the Year. If we could say they wanted to track points at their own casino, top point getters get on their pro team. They have a pro tournament once a year, LA Championship, right? Representing your casino. The casinos could brag, our casino has the best, is the best for the year, that kind of thing. Kind of like, school rivalries, I thought that would be pretty cool. That's kind of
Yeah.
that is something I wish we could somehow make happen. But, Hustler stopped doing tournaments. Gardens is now pulling a little bit back from tournaments. It's
Yeah, but this is the point. Like, if we just bring all of this up again,
yeah.
people will start running tournaments again. People will follow the money.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, for those of you who are listening, I think it could be as simple as starting. They have a Commerce Pro team. Let's get a Bike Pro team. Let's get a rivalry growing. Let's get some events. Let's get some press. We'll talk about it a lot if something like that were to happen and you had real events, man. Let's get some heels. Let's get some storylines. Let's go.
Yeah.
I know a couple guys who are ready and willing to jump on that smack talk train. So let's jump into that, shall we? Let's talk about our player of the year. Our player of the year is currently Derek, which has to be a scam. Frank and I are
It's
talking
definitely
about
rigged.
how we're
Super
going to
rigged.
change the player of the year already for next year. Um, Elvis over here Elvin is pledging to go hard. He's not going to disappoint the poker community and his fans. He's going for it, and he's technically in number one. The only thing
Yeah,
that's
he's
keeping him
number
out of
one.
number one is because we're not positive the Gardens is actually going to report any of the
Yeah.
results.
Yeah, and it's I think that's the thing that kind of always sucks, and I really wish. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I wonder if I can help Hendon Mob set up like a self-serve platform, right? And you just have like you give a casino one login and one login only. It's locked to one person, and they're the people who can like enter the results for you, just to get stuff in there a little bit faster. You
Yeah,
know what
just
I mean?
crowdsource it a little bit.
Yeah, and then you just have like editors come and maybe just dedupe or something, or even use AI to do it, just to get results in there faster. Because technically, I was in first place for this for probably like 2 weeks, during the
Yeah,
winning on
while
the
the winning
green.
on the green was still going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the bike was slow putting the results up, and then when they did put the results up, Hendon was slow putting it up. And then when they finally got it up, um, Elvin had passed me because he won the Gardens tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just like, weeks and weeks behind, but we're definitely going to go into this World Series of Poker stretch. And thankfully, World Series results usually get up there pretty fast. Hopefully, Commerce, and with Kevin, I'm pretty sure it's going to go up there pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Cavin's events have an advantage in our system because he does post so quickly and so consistently. Um,
Yeah.
so we got some friendly banter going on here on the post on the. So Frank put up this post with our latest results, and Mr. Rick Meshermill is trying to start some shit. So let's run through the fun. He's taking a jab at old Two Banners Fiorentino. Man, we got to shorten that though if it's going to be his nickname. Mark 2B. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
Yep. So he jumped him in these recent standings. Rick, I think, was down at 9 or 10. Jumped Mark. Now he's in fifth. Tried to talk some smack there, but Frank jumped in there, gave him a little bit of his own medicine. But the interesting thing we have going here is one. Rick brings up the chopping that I stopped. I took the asterisks away when you rightfully won the mini main, but he brings the chopping back up. And for next year, I do think we're going to try and make those adjustments for chops that we were talking about before. I like the way the MSPT does it. If you recall, when there's a chop, everybody gets the points for the lowest placed chop value, right? So if the top 6 chop, all 6 of them get 6th place points.
I don't love that. The thing is, like, I don't care if we do something about Chops Roundup. That doesn't seem
Yeah,
right
well, we can talk
because
about it. The other thing we can do is add up all the points for the top 6 and average it out and give that out. And then the last thing we could do is, which I don't want to do, is we could add those points up and then kind of chop them up based on what the money chop was. But that's
yeah,
a lot more work than I
yeah,
want
it's
to
so
do.
much work, and
That's
it's
why I like the
even
6th place
and
thing.
usually you have to eye test, right? You have to eye test whether or not it was a chop, and usually it's pretty obvious, right?
Oh
But then it
yeah, I mean
just
we'd
feels
have
like
to get confirmation that it's a chop.
it's like
Yeah,
another layer of work that doesn't
they
seem
almost always do say, but yeah, sometimes you have to eye test it. Um,
yeah.
but
Because
we will be
honestly, if
doing
you're
something
yeah
about it.
yeah if you're yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is that technically the stack rank of wherever you ended up when you decide the chop is where you were in chips. So it's a real moment in time in which, there was that differentiation, right? So there was a stack rank. Yes, first place and second place might have been split by like, 5 chips or something, but still I feel like it's still a pretty good system. And then if we're trying to dilute that somehow, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, my problem with it though is like if you're doing a chop, like if you're doing a 1-2 chop, I'm not as opposed. But like when you do like 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, at that point, I don't think it really represents the real way it flows out. And more importantly, it's really easy to manipulate. Case in point, Mister Brass refusing a chop until he stole the big blind to be one big blind ahead of Mark, and then proposing the chop and being stubborn about it, so that he could get first place officially, right? So that's just too easy to manipulate when it's like, all right, well, I'm not chopping now. I'm 3 big blinds away from first. Let me just like steal these blinds, tell everyone, look, I'm just going to win these blinds and now I'm in first. All right, we're chopping and now I get first points. Now, obviously, there's no money involved in ours, which is why we didn't put that much effort into bulletproofing it. But I just that seems like more of a feel bad to me than giving people fewer points because they decided to chop. So I feel like I don't mind punishing people for lowering their taking less risk, because that is what happens when you take less risk, right? You get less reward. So I don't want someone to get the full reward for taking less risk by chopping. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Brad's on board with
it just,
taking the average. So like say the top
yeah.
6 chop, you probably end up with like third place points or 2.8 place points or something. Would I be okay with that too?
I mean, if we're using it as a stick to make people not chop, I guess that's a thing.
Yeah, that's probably why the
Also,
MSPT does it, to really discourage chopping.
right,
But
right.
and
Okay, but
obviously we're indifferent to chopping. If you chop, you want to chop. But like I just feel like you should be punished for laying off the risk in a system like that, right? So
that says, what does the highest woman on the POY get?
high fives. We'll put it. You want your picture up? We already had you on the show, Beth. We'll have to think about that. Get you on here again. But yeah, no, that's a good point. Beth is the only woman in the top 10 of our Player of the Year. So, and she
That's
is
not surprising.
she is just a whisker away from being, I'd say from being 6th or so. I mean, she's got what 2,493 points. And then if you look up here, Mark has only 120-ish points, or 115 more points than her, or something like that. So that's not much at all. So I think that everyone in the top 10 here, honestly, I think everyone, like I'm pretty far back here. I'm now 1,200 points away from you. I think I would have to like win 2 events to catch up. But I think anybody here in the top, definitely the top 10. I would go so far as to say everyone down to maybe like Rudy or Mike Nia, roughly that area, top 15 or so, could really make a push here in this final series.
Yeah, it's still, I do not have a commanding leader or anything, so
Yeah,
for sure, it's
yep.
anybody's.
Yeah, and Elvin, in fact, does have the lead. The other interesting thing that came up there is, we've been called out. So Rick and Mark, Rick started out by trying to talk shit to Mark, and somehow they ended up allying against us. I'm not quite sure how this happened, but now we were trying to decide if it would be more fun for us to split up and team up with like some of the listeners, but it's kind of turning into Rick. It looks like Rick here and Mark are joining forces to take us on in the tag team event that's going to happen on that last Saturday. So Mark and Rick versus the Roundup here. I think we're gonna have to take this on. I don't see any way out of this. We're gonna have to challenge these guys, which means maybe we should open this up. We might have to create a side pool bet of some sort. I'm not sure. I don't really want to do money since it's gonna be with the listeners. That goofy outfit that I had posted up, the Bulbasaur onesie. I'm thinking of maybe transferring that over. But if we open this up, we'll have to think of something else, maybe to pitch in. I got a couple ideas. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. But maybe, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments if you'd be interested in forming up a team and, getting into some sort of side bet versus Team LA Poker Roundup and Team 2 Banners and Rick and Mr. Mech, Mr. Astro Mech here. Let us know. If we got some interest, we'll try and think of something, because we got a couple weeks before we have to come up with that. And also, if you're listening and you haven't subscribed or hit the like button, please do that. Please go and hit those buttons for us. It doesn't take a second and really means a lot to us. Appreciate that.
And it's super free.
Yep, absolutely free to you. And not last, but, talking about that last push, let's take a look at the remaining events, right? So the remaining events for this are pretty easy. Here I've indicated I have not received the results for any of the garden stuff. These events have already happened. Can't get points there. But coming up on the 9th, once that circuit starts, the way it's going to work is we have, what is this, 88 to 100. It looks like we have 12 events that still count. And it's every single ring event that is a Hold'em event. That's how I did it. So if you take a look here.
Every single ring event that's a Hold'em event. Okay.
Yep. So that should be 12 events of the 16.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep, not counting, of course, the invitational for the bracelet, because we can't all get into that. Yep. So you have 12 chances to get points still. With the opening event is going to be massive point getter. That's going to be a huge event, 600 buy-in, and then the main event's going to be a massive point getter, and then a
I
fair
think
number in between.
I think Elvin is going to fire every one of these, and I may not be able to fire every one of these, but I'll do my best to fire as many as I can.
I have a feeling you're going to fire at least half of these, though.
It's probably going to be roughly half, but
Yeah.
I think Elvin's going to get every one of them.
I bet you'll be at least 6 of these. If you can't fire all of them, if you're doing well in some of them, though. So if he fires every one, that's
true.
kind of good for you. That means
That's
he didn't
true.
do well in some of the others.
This is true.
But yeah, I bet you're going to fire half. I will probably fire like 4 of these
A
tops.
third.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because it's only weekends, and I'm hoping, hopefully I've bagged so I'm in a day 2 or something, So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to come right down to the wire, which is awesome. Well, I was hoping it would come down to this. I was hoping that I would be a little higher in the rankings, but I held on for a while, and then I started going to Vegas, and then I stopped making hands on day 2. It's kind of rough. I'll make a push though. We'll make a push. We'll make it fun. But it's really cool. One of the things in Frank's post here, some folks were saying, I think Cairo was saying, hey, it's really cool. In this first page I'm looking at, I know every single person there, right? Which is, that's kind of the point, right? This is, it's who the show's for. It's who this contest is for. We were trying to use a system that rewarded diligence, right? Showing up every week and results. And I think this, I've been really happy with the way that the results have shaken out. This is really showing people who show up every week and who are putting up results, right?
Yeah, I think POYs are great because you can get notoriety for a whole bunch of different things, and then people can run hot for a little bit, and you still have people that ran hot back in the heyday, the moneymaker boom, right, for like 1 or 2 years, and they're still like known personalities, right? But if you actually go look at the results, they haven't been doing anything. So this is kind of cool because it's like the top X players are all regulars that we all kind of know and we all expect to be pretty good players, and now they're showing it. They're literally showing it from the scoring system.
Yep, exactly. And you can tell the folks that just kind of showed up, spiked something and left, right? Like, look, we have 209th. This guy spiked 145,000 in an event, right? I don't know if he's from out of town or what, but that's probably the only thing he spiked. Same thing here. Sal only got, this is from the Gardens. He spiked something at the Gardens here, 134,000. Great payday, but like in our player of the year, he's down in 200, which is good. Now look, we're tracking 2,000, almost 2,300 players that have cashed across the events we're watching here in LA.
How many?
Almost 23. I think there's a top row, so 2,291 players, unique players, have cashed in LA, right? So can you imagine if every player who's ever cashed in LA this year, just across the events we played, came and fired 1 bullet into the main event? Like, that would be in our main event. We'd have 2,200 unique entries into that thing. That'd be so cool.
I think it also gives us, actually no, it doesn't really give us a good well, maybe it does.
It gives
us a good
better than we had.
because let's just say that this is 10 or 15% of the total number of players that show up. I think that's a pretty rough, good way of looking at it. This is roughly how big the pool is.
Yeah. This is everyone that cashed all the events we watched. I mean,
right.
That's and to your point, it's, I don't know, 10 might be a little small, honestly, given the number of events, but like I would definitely say this is well under 50% of the people come, so probably like in that 30% I would give it, but still, that's and we got their names and what they got here, right? Like, so, but yeah, I like this system for that same reason. Like we've got people down here who have 37,000 in caches, down around 1,000, and then if I come on all the way up here to even in here, I have in the top 102, Sammy. He's got 26,000 in caches around here, right? So that just shows he's been playing a lot more smaller events, going really deep in them, showing up every week or showing up more often, right? So, I mean, I like that. We wanted the system to reward that. This is actually kind of incredible, honestly. Vanek in 90th place with 13,000 and a half in caches just here in the events we're tracking. That means he must have just like gotten first place in several rather small events, that's cool.
Right.
So it's very neat.
Yeah, I love the way this just evens out and just gives you chances, right? And it all just seems to make sense when you shake it all out.
Yep. So it's been good. We got the final push. The list of all the events that count is on the website, Julie. It's a link that's somewhat hidden. For some reason, Derek made it look like not a link. It says like isn't that the one where it's just like a orangish bluish word, but there's no line under it. It's just like it looks like a header, right? It's just like events, this year's events, and it's like a funny looking header.
Well, it just says POY on the top of it, but
Yeah, so you just click on the words. It's kind of like, I saw a Homestar Runner video the other day. If you ever watch those, you just click around the flash thing looking for secrets. Just click around, click around. Rick says, for those of you who can't see the chat, Rick says that when Frank talks shit, we all talk shit. So you know what? I don't always agree with Frank, but in this case, I'm gonna stand by his shit talking. All right. So we got a good push here. We really need to think of what to do. Maybe we'll do some like lives and some shorts from Commerce. Like I said, we got to talk with Kevin, and we got to talk with Cairo and see if we can do any kind of combined cross promotion during the series. Get some real time update kind of things going on because it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun, guys. All right. Well, let's see what else we got. There's not a lot else going on this week, right? I think that's about it. Let's talk about what are the dailies happening this week, and what are we going to be doing all this weekend. There's not much going on. All right, so let's hit the roundup. So as we said, this is a rare kind of week off, calm before the storm. So this weekend, the dailies are happening. The dailies over at Commerce, as shown last week. That's going to be the place to be. Kevin's brought his magic to Commerce on Saturday. Their 25K guarantee, $250 buy-in, starts at 1 p.m. I think when I looked last time, by 2:30 they had like 350 entries or something. Is that what it was the other day? It was something big. Anyways, it got to 80,000 last week. I bet you it's going to get to 80,000 this week. This is massive. This is the last weekend of regular dailies before the World Series circuit starts next week. That's going to be huge as well, obviously. So this is where I'll be on Saturday. I'll see you guys there. There's no excuse not to go unless you just you hate fun or you want to get cheated on ACR or I don't know, you going to get cultured or something. Right, Derek?
Yeah, I think I have to do my laundry or something on that day.
Oh yeah, you got to wash your hair. I understand.
Yeah, I gotta wash my hair.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what you can do? You can spend the day picking out trophies. Pick out your trophy so that it hurts a little more when you have to give it to Elvin at the after the World Series.
What? I'm gonna pick out a trophy I absolutely freaking love.
Yes. Pick out a fantastic trophy, and then we're gonna
Max Payne.
make you hand it to Elvin. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. We brought her picture up there, Julie. Yep. Angela's great. She's been really cool to play with. And then they also have their 1 p.m. will be Sunday will be their 10K guarantee. Last week that got to 21,000, so that'll also likely smash again. And Friday their bounty tournament, I believe, $50 bounty tournament. That registration ends at 7:40. It starts at 4. All right, heading over to, we'll come back to that in a second. Heading over to Lucky Lady. They had their 20K last week. I think it was a big success. No results, though, as usual, unfortunately. However, I have been seeing some social media advertisements. They've been making some videos over there at Lucky Lady to advertise, so good on them. Next step is to get us some results. And their daily tournaments are continuing this weekend. The norm, 10Ks on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So definitely go and check those out if you bust out at Commerce. Heading over to Hollywood Park. Last week they had their big 50K. Was not able to go and check that out because I was in Vegas. Unfortunately, they have not posted their May tournaments yet, so you will have to check back on their website, I guess in a couple days. Hopefully they'll be up by May. I would imagine that this weekend they'll have something going on. I cannot warn you if they have an event because they don't have their schedule up. Sorry, guys. And then, over at the Gardens, they are still running their regular weeklies. The Friday, they have 2 events, the 10K guarantee at 11, the 20K guarantee at 5, and then on Saturday, they will have their 10K guarantee at 11. So if you want a very full day, you can always start at the Gardens at 11, head over to Commerce later in the day, and if that doesn't go well, head over to Lucky Lady if you just can't get enough dailies. I know Derek really just can't wait to make that rotation. That is his dream Saturday.
Hey, you know what? Give out trophies for those things, and I'll start showing up.
Hey, you heard him. Trophies for dailies again, or maybe just coins. They used to give out coins.
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Yeah, and then just a reminder, save your money for these satellites. These are going to be great. They're going to do satellites on Thursday, May 8th. We're going to have another show before then, but it's going to be fun. These are going to guaranteeing 5 series packages, which is 2,700. I think they added an accidental zero on there. $2,700 value. I don't think it's 27,000 value. That would be amazing. They better fix that. We're going to hold them to that. So they're going to have a nice package with a main event seat, a couple 600 seats, and a couple 400 seats, I think. So that's going to be awesome. So definitely, if you're free on Thursday, check that out. I might try to get to that myself. All right. So yeah, tournament-wise, gonna be kind of slow, but it will be a party over at Commerce. Last week, get there early, guys. Last week they kind of ran out of tables. Totally ran out of tables. Registration line was a bit backed up. The alternate line took a while to get through. So definitely get on over there.
That's crazy.
Jeff has something for you. I'm not sure what. What were you asking for? Trophies? Bots? So contact Jeff, Derek. He's got some of something you were. No way. That is bad luck. He got knocked out right at the close of registration. That stinks. You always want to get knocked out just before the close of registration so you can fire one more. So that's just too bad.
If you're talking about trophies, Jeff, I have to earn them. Oh, coins. Yeah, I have to earn them, those two, but thank you.
Yep. Oh, and Beth went over to Hollywood Park. Unfortunately, she can't give us results. It sounds like she did not get to the end of that, but yeah. All right, guys. That's all we have for you this week. Thanks for hanging out. It's been fun. I'm back in town, ready to get back on the horse, back in the scene, ready to blast off. You ready for the circuit? It can't come fast enough.
Yeah, it's gonna be I cannot wait for this Commerce series. Love the WSB circuit. Super excited to have Kevin there. Just if it's any indication how much he's getting out for the dailies, we're gonna just go gangbusters on this, especially if there's no crazy double registration, and just everything is gonna be good about this.
Yep, that 600 is gonna pop off so hard. That opener is gonna be massive.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and unlike last week, this week I really will see you at the tables.
See the tables, everyone.